those top concerns, which President Ruto must address. In what has been a chaotic tear gas Monday full of chaos, this is what the city looks like. A ghost town and a city at standstill. Apol Kamau, TV47 in Nairobi.
Well, that's our senior political affairs reporter, Apollo Kamau, with that piece. Now, the 6 Azimio la Umoja One Kenya leaders, who include Ugunja MP Opiyo Wandayi and Kilifi Senator Stewart Madzayo, arrested earlier today outside KICC, have been released from the Kiambu police station on a 50,000 shillings cash bail. This even as the Azimio countrywide demonstrations were marred by violence as protesters engaged the police in running battles, as Stanley Nyeringita now tells us.
This was the situation in Kibra, Nairobi County. Demonstrators engaging in running battles with the police and later pelting the police with stones. The clash, which was witnessed during the better part of the day, saw a number of protesters arrested, with a few reported injuries from both the police and the protesters.
And if they are there, let us treat us as human. Kenya is for us all. So, and we have our freedom of movement, of speech, and of doing these things that they are denying us. Now, here is Kibera. Why are they denying people of Kibera to come to CBD? If they deny Kibera, what about Mathare? What about other parts of the world?
Meanwhile, most roads in Nairobi were deserted, with a small group of protesters clashing with the police along Ngong Road, a situation that forced motorists to use alternative roads. Azimio's plan to address journalists and supporters outside a Nairobi hotel, however, failed to see the light of day, as tear gas canisters were directed towards the procession. This even as 6 Azimio leaders, including Minority Leader in the Senate, Stewart Madzayo, and his National Assembly counterpart, Opiyo Wandayi, have been released from the Kiambu police station with a 50,000 cash bail. The legislators were flanked by their lawyer Dunstan Omari, who has noted that the arrests were conducted illegally.
I want us to go to court in Kahawa, that court which was built for hardcore, for terrorists, you know. The Kahawa court was built for terrorists because it's in the committee. That's why they're taking us on Thursday to go and take police.
In the most disgraceful manner I've ever seen a Kenyan being handled like that. I've been in this country for some time, and I know how decent police officers are. But the ones I've seen today, it was shocking.
Na tuko na jukumu kusimama kuongea ule uwazi. Watatuweka jela, watatupigia tear gas, hatutasimama. Hii haitaturudisha nyuma mpaka haki itendeke kwa mwananchi ambaye kwamba ni mnyonge. Hilo lazima lieleweke.
Tomorrow I'll be moving to the Constitutional Court. One, to challenge the provision of declaring a meeting an illegal assembly.
The Azimio leaders had been arrested outside KICC as they joined Kenyans in the anti-William Ruto protests. Stanley Nyeringita, TV47.
Moving on, Azimio's D-Day for the mass action has elicited mixed reactions from leaders drawn from the Kenya Kwanza coalition, as they term it destructive. The protests have left many parts of the country at a standstill, as most of the businesses were closed, as our reporter Flora Limuki now tells us.
As business operations remained paralyzed in Nairobi and some other major towns in the country for the better part of the day following protests from the opposition, a section of leaders and residents allied to the Kenya Kwanza government has condemned the demonstrations, terming them unnecessary.
Lakini hatutaki maandamano ya kazi yenye hatuifai. Kazi zetu tumefunga, watu wameko kwa manyumba, si ati wamemuogopa, lakini tunaongopa kazi zetu kuharibiwa. Mmoja ashikwe, watu wake aende atuonyeshe kazi yake mahali iko.
Meanwhile, Kilifi leaders and residents have also castigated the ongoing national protest by Azimio leaders, with Kilifi North MP Owen Baya saying that the protest was affecting the country and leaders must desist from the same. The lawmaker said that if there are grievances, then they should be done through the National Assembly.
So, maandamano will not help this country. What will help this country is hardworking Kenyans to support the investments that the people are making so that we can grow the economy.
So with this economy, lazima tutoe sauti zetu, na tumeona Azimio kupitia maandamano wanatoa ile sauti, na hakika kwamba kupitia sauti zile labda wabunge wanapoketi pale wataweza kurudisha hizo bei chini.
Elsewhere, Uasin Gishu leaders led by Senator Jackson Mandago have conveyed a message to Raila Odinga to stop the protest because in the long run he won't get a handshake agreement with the president.
Lakini pia wasisome katiba sehemu ama vipengee moja na kuacha sehemu ambazo sinahitaji wawajibike katika hiyo maandamano.
Tutasalimiana kwa wale wajumbe wanataka kufanya kazi na serikali, au watasalimiana State House na tutafanya kazi ili kuhakikisha kuna maendeleo katika Kenya mzima. Lakini handshake yake ya mbuta hii haiwezi fanyika Kenya hii. So the sooner he gets to his head, the better.
Hayo mambo yote anasema leo alikuwa pale, mbona hakutekeleza? Mbona bei ya chakula na kila kitu ilienda juu kwa watamu wao?
Flora Limuki, TV47.
Now, political protests in Kenya are not a new phenomenon. Many a times when a group of people in the country feel aggrieved or politically oppressed, they head to the streets to express their dissatisfaction. Azimio leader Raila Odinga is one of the leaders who has a number of times led his followers to the streets to push the government to act on a raft of issues. However, he feels most of the issues presented are never dealt with as expected. Here's our reporter Sharon Baranga with more.
Shikapa nyuma oi. Inua tuende.
March 20th, 2023, businesses came to a standstill in many towns in the country as police officers engaged protesters who came out in their numbers following Azimio leader Raila Odinga's announcement that on this day there will be a public holiday as Kenyans were urged to participate in the demonstrations. Like any other political protest that takes place in the country, this one too had issues that the opposition is pushing the government to resolve. The high cost of living and electoral malpractice are some of the issues the opposition pointed out as what they want the government to act upon. Whether the Azimio fraternity will achieve expected responses from the government or not is a matter of a wait and see. In 2018, a year after the country was recovering from the disputed 2017 general election, the country was yet again marred with protests after a dispute in the election results. But on 9th March 2018, a political truce was reached between former Prime Minister Raila Odinga and former President Uhuru Kenyatta, resulting to a handshake, a move that quelled political temperatures in the country. And the cycle of politically instigated demonstrations in the country can be traced to a period in time when the country is just from a general election. For instance, demonstrations were witnessed after the 2013 general election results were announced. In 2007, hell broke loose as a number of people died following protests that erupted after a disputed presidential election results. And each time there is an organized protest in the country, there is almost nothing to write home about when it comes to results. Sharon Baranga, TV47.
Now, the demonstrations led by opposition leader Raila Odinga and his supporters have disrupted business operations, which has made Kenya lose 2 billion shillings, according to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. He has called on Raila Odinga to call off the demonstrations. And as Norbert Odoro now tells us, many small businesses also felt the heat.
The always crowded Nairobi Central Business District seemed abnormally quiet as of 7 a.m. today, with most establishments and businesses around major streets remaining closed for the better part of the day. This even as traders took precautions following the planned Azimio One Kenya mass action. As police engaged protesters and lobbed tear gas along the streets of the Nairobi Central Business District, it came to a standstill. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua broke his silence and asked Azimio leader Raila Odinga to call off the mass action, claiming Kenya had lost up to 2 billion shillings as the chaos from the Azimio supporters was not good for the economy.
As a result, this morning, because of lack of business in the CBD, the country has lost almost 2 billion shillings in terms of business. And this is money that should have been circulating in the economy. We want to urge these people to consider this afternoon to call off the chaos, the mayhem, the intimidation.
However, the Deputy President said he was happy that many Kenyans ignored the illegal declaration of a holiday by Raila Odinga and went to work as normal, adding that the chaos today will roll back the gains the country has made in terms of economic recovery.
So we urge the people of Kenya to ignore being incited into violence and destruction of property, because it's not good for the economy, it's not good for the country. And we want to thank those who are courageous enough to ignore threats and intimidation and to go about their businesses in an orderly manner.
Other counties such as Bungoma, West Pokot and Mombasa remained generally peaceful for the better part of the Monday morning as the residents worked freely amidst the ongoing demonstration countrywide. Residents in West Pokot distanced themselves from the anti-government demonstration, saying they do not have time for the demonstration as it would contribute to the skyrocketing of the cost of living.
Nimesema hakuna kinaitwa maandamano hapa. Sisi tutakaa kama wenyeji hapa na amani yetu na tufanye biashara yetu katika kaunti ya West Pokot.
Kwa majina naitwa Yvonne, tunauzia hapo Jacaranda. Mimi tumeamka asubuhi, tumekuja kufanya kazi yetu na tuko tunafanya kazi yetu kama kawaida.
The situation was the same in Bungoma County, even as they were demonstrating in silence and not on the roads, with businesses going on normal as it would on a Monday. Some expressed their mixed reaction towards the tough economic struggles.
Kitu ya kwanza si kwenda kuongelea. Sisi hapa Western, Bungoma hapa, sisi ni watu ya ugali. Na lazima vyakula zirudi chini. Unga imepanda. Kitu ya pili, mafuta imepanda, na mafuta ikipanda inapandisha kila kitu.
Bei ya unga imepanda. Sasa hivi unapata bei ya sufuria iko juu, iko chini kuliko bei ya unga. Tukiangalia saa hizi uchumi iko juu. Mafuta, petroli ilikuwa 95, sasa hivi tunapata mpaka 177. Hata 200, 180. Budget imekuwa ya juu sana, uchumi imekuwa ni ya hali ya shida sana.
Norbert Oduor, TV 47.
Well, moving on, following the protests that took place in certain parts of the country, some counties in the country did not experience any demonstrations. According to those we managed to talk to, they shunned the protests to avoid disruptions. The story was produced by Ronnie Regan.
Residents from some counties like Bungoma, Machakos, Vihiga, Meru, Embu and Kisii counties stayed away from Azimio's Monday's protests.
Hawa watu wote wanapata ajira kutoka kwa serikali. Na ikiwa unapata ajira, unapata mshahara kutoka kwa hiyo serikali, na wewe mwenyewe ndio unafanya maandamano, inamaanisha nini? Inaashiria kitu kama gani katika maisha?
Wakae opposition, wagojee serikali ifanye kazi. Nataka kusema ya kwamba sisi tunalaani hiyo migomo yao because wana waste time ya Wakenya wengi. Maana Wakenya wanataka kufocus na life, wanataka kuendelea na kazi, wataki migomo.
Serikali ifanye kazi. Lakini tumeona wakati mwingi baba anasemanga anatutetea. Ikifika wakati anachukuliwa na serikali akienda huko wananyamaza. Inakuwa sisi tunaendelea kufinyiriwa.
Wakati Raila walikuwa pamoja na Uhuru waliharibu uchumi. Sasa sisi lazima tupe rais wetu muda kwanza, tuone tusubiri hata angalau kama miaka 3 miaka 2 tuone vyenye itaendelea. Kwa hivyo sasa sisi hatuna ubaya na rais wetu. Hiyo ndio sababu ile kubwa.
It is a demonstration that had been called by Azimio One Kenya party leader Raila Odinga to force President William Ruto's government to lower the cost of living, the opening of the IEBC servers and drop recruitment of IEBC commissioners.
Hii maandamano ya Raila hakuna mali naguza mwananchi wa kawaida. Ni anajitafutia kazi na anataka kurudishwa ile gharama alipitia wakati wa campaign za 2022. Kwa hivyo mimi hakuna mali nitaona ati kitu itateremka hata kidogo. Hata wakisalimiana hakuna kitu itateremka. Kama nataka handshake, hata hiyo handshake ikifaulu hakuna kitu itateremka. Maisha itakuwa ile ile.
According to some of the residents that we talked to and who shunned the protests, the politicians are fighting for their personal interests.
In my position as the president is that we embrace the cohesion, we embrace that peace, we embrace that harmony, because this country doesn't belong to an individual. This country is for all citizens.
According to some, all they want is development and not protests.
Hata tukiandamana na at the end of the day turudi kwa nyumba hatuna kitu ya kukula, hakuna maana. Sasa sisi tunaomba tu Ruto anyamaze, mwenyewe akae chini na nini yake, waongee, watushukishie vitu chini. Hatutaki kelele, tunataka tu umoja.
Would there be a reconciliation between Azimio leader Raila Odinga and President William Ruto? That is a matter of wait and see.
Well, moving on, 5 African countries made global headlines today following simultaneous mass protests against their governments. Demonstrators in Kenya, South Africa, Tunisia, Nigeria, and Senegal brought normal operations to a standstill, protesting against the various government regimes. Zainab Mohammed with that perspective.
In Kenya, Azimio One Kenya Alliance leader Raila Odinga led protesters in a mass protest around the city, demonstrating the high cost of living, among other issues. The police and the protesters engaged in running battles, leading to the arrest of some of the protesters and leaders. In South Africa, the country's third largest party, the Economic Freedom Fighters, called for a national shutdown, bringing normal operations to a halt. The protesters, led by EFF leader Julius Malema, demonstrated the ongoing power crisis and demanded the resignation of President Cyril Ramaphosa. Nigeria's People Democratic Party leader Atiku Abubakar led protesters to Nigeria's Independent National Electoral Commission offices, protesting against the country's election results announced last week. In Tunisia, protesters marched on the street to pressure the government over alleged authoritarian rule by President Kais Saied. Thousands of opposition supporters flooded the country's capital city, Tunis, bringing normal operations to a standstill. And finally, in Senegal, supporters of Senegalese opposition leader Ousmane Sonko protested in the country's capital city, Dakar, in support of the aspiring presidential candidate who is facing a libel case set to resume next week. Zainab Mohammed, T47.
Now moving on, President William Ruto has said that he will not condone impunity in the country. President Ruto, while presiding over the swearing-in of the new Solicitor General Shadrack Mose in State House, Nairobi, said Kenya will be governed by the rule of law and everyone must operate within the Constitution. The president said he is confident that Shadrack Mose will offer leadership based on his experience, knowledge and understanding of the law. Mose replaces Ken Ogeto, who was appointed during former President Uhuru Kenyatta's era.
Did commit ourselves as a country that Kenya is going to be a country governed by the rule of law, ensuring that we observe what the Constitution provides for us, ensuring that we protect the rights of everybody. And as we enjoy our rights as individuals, we must be careful also to ensure that we don't trample on the rights of others. And the cardinal principle is that as a country that believes in the rule of law, there is no greater or lesser person. None of us is above the law. The president is not above the law. And so is every other citizen. So each one of us must, as of a Constitution imperative, respect the Constitution, operate within the Constitution, enjoy our rights within the Constitution, and ensure that we don't trample on the rights of others who equally are enjoying those rights in the context of our constitutional provisions.
Well, that is President William Ruto there during the swearing in of the new Solicitor General, that is Shadrack Mose, who is going to be replacing former Solicitor General Ken Ogeto, who served during former President Uhuru Kenyatta's regime. Now, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has asked the new Kenya Ports Authority Board management to transform the Mombasa port to attract more businesses. Addressing French business community members who visited the port, Gachagua said the facility must reclaim its glory as the leading logistics hub in East Africa. Now, early this year, President William Ruto reconstituted the Kenya Ports Authority Board of Management, appointing Benjamin Tayari as the chairman. Gachagua said the President Ruto-led administration is keen to public and private investments and is ready to work with the new management in enhancing public-private partnerships to expand the Mombasa and Lamu ports. Have a look.
We are challenging the new management to even do much better and to make this port the destination of choice in the African continent, so that anybody who wants to do business, to bring goods anywhere in Africa, finds the port of Mombasa as the destination of choice. Ours as a government is to assure the new management and the managing director of our support. We'll support you, whatever changes you want to make, whatever programs that you have in terms of seeking out projects on public-private partnership. You have the support of our government.
Well, at 25 minutes past the hour, time now for a very short break. Don't go away. We'll be back with more.